All right, so what's today? September 28th, 2022. Today is a good one. A little bit different than what I want to talk about normally. Usually I like to give you guys tactics and strategies and things like that, or overall philosophy on land investing. But today we're going to get a little bit into something that goes a little bit more, a little deeper, a little bit more fundamental than that. Truth be told, I love talking about these topics more than just the strategies or tactics that are working, quote unquote, today, because this stuff that I'm about to share with you relates to everything in your whole life. And when you start to master these principles and these concepts, then you'll notice not just your business will start doing better, but your personal relationships, your relationship with your family, friends, kids, all that. You're just going to have more impact and meaning in your life. So here's the thing, right? A lot of us investing in land are looking to get into land, not because we just love flipping land. We just love paper pushing, none of that. No, we're getting into for other reasons. Now, before I jump any further, let me know if you can see me, hear me okay, whether you're watching live or the replay. Yeah, want to make sure because I do not want anybody to miss anything because this is going to be a good one. All right, refresh the page. Hey, all right, appreciate it, appreciate it. Cool, glad you guys don't mind me being a little late. All right, so let me share with you guys something. So we've all heard these cliches, right? You are the sum of like your friends, or basically you take your 5 friends' income. We can see what your income would be, or wherever you go, there you are. Meaning that no matter where you go, the problems and your habits and all that are just going to follow you. So a change of environment may not necessarily be the change you need, or the cliche of how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? All of these things we probably don't know, we've heard before, we understand. But we don't actually, I'm not going to say, I'll speak for myself here. I don't always actually think about what does that really mean. But yeah, on the surface, I get it, right? How you want things, how you do everything, meaning like, hey, if I'm a lazy slob in this aspect of my life, I'm not all of a sudden going to be like this tidy and hardworking person in this other aspect of my life. Every now and then you get those things, but in general, you are who you are. But there are times where you don't really think about these things until it hits you in the face of why your situation hasn't changed. Now, show of hands, how many people actually got into land because they have like a big debt or a big purchase that they need to make, and if they don't do it, I wouldn't say all hell breaks loose, but it just wouldn't be good. All right. How many of us actually get into land just because we like doing land? Most of us, we don't. We don't even know what it is until we make a couple of deals and we kind of understand it. And then after that point, then maybe you're into it for the business itself, but in general. Now, over the weekend, I was in Atlanta. I went to a, I guess, how do I put this? I guess I'd call it a boot camp. And, it's about business and things like that. And if you don't know, I've probably spent about $60,000 this year on coaching alone, both in and out of land itself. And in this boot camp, things are going great. I'm meeting people, I'm networking, I'm letting them know all the things that I have to share and vice versa. This is not a land event. This is just a general business event. And they're kind of curious to hear about land and things like that. Anyways, as the event goes on, I'm learning things, I'm taking notes, I'm feeling good. And then if you don't know, there's always a chance for you to upgrade your membership for your training or your mastermind or whatever it is. Now, usually I'm not afraid of these things. I'm like, cool, if it sounds good, I'll do it. I'll figure out a way. If it doesn't, I'll just say, never mind. So I was all in. I'm like, yeah, this sounds good. It's the next step. It's going to be an upgrade I was going to do at some point anyways, because this training has been beneficial for me. But then when it was time, I thought about a conversation I had a little bit before I heard the sales pitch. And as a coach, there's a lot of people that I've worked with who I may no longer be working with or whatever. They want the results that I'm promising them, but them putting that effort in, putting in that work, sometimes it's lacking. I mean, it's normal. I've done it a million times. In fact, that's how I even realized, hey, this is what so-and-so may be going through or went through back in the day, is because of things that I'm going through. I'm like, okay, I get it, all that. And then I realized I've done a lot of different training and a lot of different mentorships and all that. And while I'm good at following directions, I may not be the best at really taking hold of the training and the teaching and making it a part of me and my identity. Again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. I wasn't changing that. And then so I had to think about it when it's, fast forward back to like, hey, are you ready to upgrade to our next platform or whatever? And I'm like, no. And it's not because of what they were offering. I know they're going to deliver the goods. They've never steered me wrong. And because of them, I've done better in all of my businesses. But I'm like, I didn't trust me to actually follow through with everything. And then so like that hit me hard because I'm just sitting there all of a sudden like, oh my God, what am I doing? So that night, I didn't sleep a wink. I kept getting up in the middle of the night. I had to journal like, oh man, what's going on with me? What's stopping me? What's holding me back? I have all these things I need to accomplish. I want to accomplish, things I got to fix, things I got to just do better, not just in land or whatever, but just in my life, right? And then it just, my stream of consciousness kept going. It just kept going. It just kept going. Yeah, I'm tired of houses, but learn cool. But at the end of the day, I'm like, all right. I was beating myself up pretty good until at the end, I was like, hey, well, here's one thing I realized is I keep looking at the end result. Hey, I want to make this much money. I want to have this type of results. I want to have this type of success. Anybody have the same feeling, right? You're looking at the end game, the end goal, what you want, right? Anybody do that? Anybody do that? Or is that just me? It could just be me. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. But what I realized with that bit of, with that type of thinking, every time I messed up, the same way I was beating myself up that night, I was beating myself up for not doing this or not being that, or not having the success I want, or, I had dug myself in a hole. I was supposed to climb out of that hole and I haven't done it yet. Oh, I must not be good enough. I must not be this. I must not be that. Right. And all this self-doubt and all this negative talk starts to come into my mind. And that doesn't do me any good. In fact, it actually has the opposite effect where I start to be worse off than when I first started. So the one thing I realized is something I want to share with you guys now. All right. There was 3 things in general for me personally, maybe this is for you too, that I realized that I wasn't doing the things, or excuse me, why I wasn't getting the results I wanted. All right. I think about Warren Buffett. I think about Grant Cardone. I think about other people who are successful in their industries or in their fields. And they don't just do things haphazardly. They don't do things just by reacting to things. They don't just do things out of fear. They plan, they're calculated. They sharpen their axe. So then when it's time to strike, they chop the tree down with less swings. Personally, I was not doing that. And I'm wondering why my results were a little erratic, because I was acting erratic. Right now, how many of you guys said something like this before? Oh, I want to invest in this property, but I need to pay off this credit card debt first. Or I want to get started. I just need to save up a little bit more. Or this all sounds good, but I'm not too sure I can do this. Or if it's this, if it's always work, or it's just you. Or how about everything sounds good? I think you do, but I just can't do it. I don't have the ability. I'm not good enough. You raise your hand. You've been that. Obviously, these statements are things that I've said to myself without maybe thinking a bit, but it's a feeling you get in your gut, right? So these thoughts aren't always thoughts that are just clear, like, oh, I'm just talking to myself the way I'm talking to you right now. It's just all of a sudden, the opportunity presents itself and the fear comes over you. And it's not the same fear like, oh, I'm scared, like I'm about to be on a roller coaster if I'm ready to go. It's, oh shit, this is too much. I gotta back away, right? I know I can't be the only one that's gone through that. I cannot be the only one that's gone through that. But anyways, the 3 things I realized is that my environment, my consistency, basically looking at results and not the process, and my habits, both good and bad, they got me to where I am. And the things that I want, the things I want to do, the things I want to accomplish, they're much further out than within my comfort zone. So I'm like, all right, well, what can I do? So I'm gonna break these down one by one. First, my environment, right? I'm gonna ask you questions. How many other land investors do you talk to on a daily? Like seriously talk to, not just like, hey, how are you doing? But like, just picking their mind, sharing information, exchanging war stories, things like that. How many? How many times are you talking to people in your industry, land especially, that you're talking to people who are doing much better than you? Right? People that, oh, damn, they're doing, oh, okay, they're doing this many deals per month. and these are the type of income they're bringing in, and these are the size of the deals that they're doing, and these are the type of people they're JVing with and all that. Like how many people are above you, like well above you, and how many are more at your level? How many are, they haven't gotten as far as you have in your land investing journey yet? How many people around you, your friends and family that is, know what the hell land investing is or know that you're doing it? How many of those people are encouraging you and helping you in the way that they can? Sure, they can't help you find deals or anything, but maybe they can, I don't know, maybe your spouse can help you get more quiet time to do some work, or, whatever it is, right? I've noticed that besides my coaching group, I'm not talking to enough people who are doing better than I am. And it's not that I didn't have access to it. I wasn't taking advantage of those resources. I'm going to talk more about that in a bit, right? So my environment was severely lacking. And because of that, instead of thinking about land deals and how I can get better, how I can get funding, all these things, guess what I'm thinking about? Bullshit on social media. Thirst traps on Instagram. Whatever craziness is going on YouTube. Whatever weird stuff is happening around my kids and stuff. Well, kids are a little different, but you get my point. Because my environment wasn't built or catered to land investing success, I allowed other things to fill that void. Do those other things help me make money? No. Do they help me live a stress-free life? No. So there's no wonder that some of the things that I want to accomplish, I haven't accomplished yet. There's no wonder that I may start off with a lot of motivation, but then eventually things fizzle out. Now, that brings me to our second point, the consistency. I was looking at the results, not the process of how to get those results. Now, here's a secret. Not just in land, but everything you do. It's never going to be the end game, end goal, because there's never end game. There's never an end goal. You're like, yeah, sure, you need to get a certain amount of money to do something, but what? Then what? You're going to stop? You're going to die? You're going to quit? Probably not. So if you start to fall in love with the process and understanding why that's important, and then simplifying that process so it's easy to stick with it, you're going to have a lot better success, because land moves slow. It's faster than a lot of other investment vehicles, but on a day-to-day, you're not going to just be having a bunch of stuff happen every time, which is good. That gives you time to do other things in your life. But here's the thing, as I said before, I will start with a lot of motivation and excitement. And then, after a week, 2 weeks, the dog days hit in, you're in the grind. Things that you set up still haven't paid off yet. You sent out a mailer, you get no responses. You sent out a text campaign, you get a bunch of no's, and you're crazy, and stop calling me, and the stop, and all these other things, right? And now you're like, shit, man, maybe I'm not doing this right. And because you're thinking about the end result, you're thinking about where you should be or what you should be doing, or I expected somebody to sell to me by now. You start to doubt yourself. You start to doubt the business. You start to doubt the process. When you start doing that, guess what happens? Shiny object syndrome. That's right. All these things that look good on the internet, all these ads that now you're being targeted because now you're in the funnel, because if you found this group, then you're probably in the funnel somewhere. Somebody's, targeting you, like, oh, this person looking for ways to, start a business or whatever it is. Those other things that didn't sound appealing before, they start to sound appealing now. How many of you guys has actually experienced that? I know I can't be the only one. I can't be, but it is what it is, right? Now, once that happens, it's easy to quit because you don't think the end result is going to happen. Instead of staying, what's the actual process, and understanding it is a process and you have to trust it and execute it to the best of your ability. And you got to do it day after day after day after day. And that you can't just always predict when the wins and the home runs come in. Because of that, it's a good chance you'll quit. I've done that. You guys know my story. I quit in 2018. I stopped land investing altogether. Funny thing is, I was still getting checks from some of the term deals I did, but I thought land investing wasn't, profitable enough. I got lured away. I was looking at the end result, not the daily process. The daily process is pretty simple, right? Now, here's the other thing to think about. I had a bunch of resources I would have taken advantage of. I mentioned that a little bit earlier, right? Sure, I will ask questions when I would need to, but I would not actually really immerse myself in the things that I need to immerse myself in so I could actually level up. And then the things I will want in the future, or things I was working toward will actually happen as a result of me immersing myself in these environments. But then because I didn't do that and take advantage, again, I let all these other things just influence my mind and all that. Now, here's the thing. When you're in that state, right, and you have, let's say you have a bunch of deals, you finally get a successful text campaign or a mailer, you're like, oh my God, all these people want to sell me their land. Oh, and they want to sell for the price that I'm looking for. Great. And then you're like, where am I going to get the money? Am I going to be able to do this? Oh, some of these deals look a little complicated. I don't know. And then you start to slow down. Instead of doing the day-to-day, just keep doing outreach, keep looking for more and more leads. You turn it off. Then it turns out some of the deals that you have on the table, you look into them deeper, the land is crap. You don't want to buy them anymore. Maybe you do want to buy them and you're going through the process, but it's super slow. So the deal you thought you would have had in a week, it maybe takes a couple months for it to complete, but you still need cash now, right? Maybe, just maybe, you actually are doing things at a good speed, but everybody does want to sell. Everything is working out. You're like, oh my God, how am I going to get the funding? All of these things are when you start to see that, hey, I can do this, but am I ready for it? And when you realize that, it's easy to become frustrated. It's easy to become discouraged. Again, because you're looking at the end result, thinking you're not going to get it because you're not cut out for it, versus just, hey, just day to day, just one step at a time, one punch at a time, right? Now, third thing that happens, it all flows together. Last one, my habits, both good and bad, they kind of got me in my comfort zone a bit. So listen, as humans, this is how we all work. We don't really like change. No matter what you say, you don't really like change. Why? Because your brain interprets change as danger. It's a safety risk. And there was some point in human history where that was true. Maybe not as humans, maybe, because it's part of our reptilian brains. So let's just say back in the Stone Age, everything in your environment looked the same. And then one day you notice maybe a tree was knocked over. That's change. But that change did represent danger because maybe some big ass woolly mammoth or something crazy that was right there ready to eat your ass up. Right? Those same fears, they're irrational. Like they made sense back then, but these days they don't make sense. Right? Being afraid to put out a text campaign or being afraid to do a mailer or just do a little bit of research to find your next area, they don't make any sense, but our brain still interprets those changes to our behaviors, our thoughts, our environment, all these other things, the same way it did when it actually meant actual danger. So it makes sense, right? Now, sometimes change can mean changing your standards of life. How do you know what your standards are? Well, look around you. Look at your body. Are you in shape or out of shape? Look at your income. Are you making the amount of money you want? And if so, are you doing it in a manner that allows you to enjoy it? Look at your friends. What type of people do you choose to hang around in life? Your happiness level. All these things kind of show your standard. And even if you're trying to level up in your standard of life, your brain still sees it as change. It's gotten used to what it is. Even if what you're used to is abuse and neglect and trauma, it's gotten used to that. It knows what to expect. But when you stop doing that, you may find yourself self-sabotaging so you can go back to what you know. The reason why we do that, again, danger, change, something's different. That means something must be wrong. And if for some of us, that's a worthiness issue, thinking that, damn, I don't deserve the success I'm seeking. I'm not good enough for it. If I do get that success, I'm just going to lose it anyway, so why even bother? Again, these aren't always thoughts you think this way. Sometimes it's a feeling in your gut that when you start thinking about your future and what's possible, you start becoming afraid. Not enough afraid I can do it. I'm on a roller coaster. I'm gonna get through it, but like I gotta step away, right? Just like I said earlier. Now, here's the thing. When you are doing this and you're feeling this way, this makes it also easier to quit as well or just not get the results you want. Again, one bad mailer, one bad text campaign. Life happens where, hey, something happened with a family member. I gotta do that. Sure, you gotta handle it, but there's very few things in life where it's going to take you 48 straight hours, where you can't find at least 10 minutes to do a little bit of land investing, right? But we let these things happen, not because the excuse is so much bigger or stronger than we are, because we allow those things to happen because of the fear, because of the change, because of how we're trying to change our lives and we're just not ready for it, or we think we're not ready for it, but in reality, we are. So what do we do about it? Well, in my opinion, you just got to practice. What does that mean? Well, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So how you talk to yourself, the word choices you use, how you look at problems, as opposed to looking at problems, you look at the problem itself or you look at solutions, things like that. That all reflects on how you handle change, how you handle all these things. When you have resources available to you, are you taking advantage of them? Sometimes it's hard to figure out how to take advantage of them, but if we're not even trying, we're not putting into practice in, we're not getting the reps, we're not making sure we are ready to take advantage of any opportunities that come our way. So here's the thing. We don't like to do things, quote unquote, out of character, right? We like to do things every way. Again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So the goal is to change that identity and that character to somebody or to something that does the things daily that you need done. So if you are someone struggling to lose weight, right, you don't want to come into that with the body of an unfit person, or excuse me, the mind of an unfit person. You want to come into this with somebody with a new identity, someone, hey, I love fitness. I love the process of it. You don't think about how much weight you're going to lose. You don't think about how much muscle you're going to put on. You think about, I love working out. I love eating right. I love taking time to rest my body. I love just having deep breaths, taking like breath work. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. Things like that, right? The process. You do those things, you get to bed on time, you drink enough water, you eat properly, and you work out. It's only a matter of time before you lose the weight and get the body that you want. But if you keep thinking about the body that you want, you won't do those things because it's not happening on your schedule. You see what I'm saying? Those are the reps I'm talking about. So how does that apply to land? Well, how often are you putting out mailers? How often are you researching new areas? How often are you talking to prospects? How often are you following up with prospects? If you're not doing the day-to-day things and falling in love with that process, guess what? You're not going to get what you want. As soon as life throws a little curveball at you, it's going to be so easy to quit because now the thing that you wanted seems further and further away. And you're focused on something that you can't control as opposed to focusing on something that you can, your daily actions. So if you can't relate to anything I talked about, I'm probably not the person to help you with land because I still struggle with this all the time, right? Now, even though I still go through them often, I do like to try to fix and help myself basically rid myself of these things and just level up because, you know, I can get rid of a certain set of problems and another level up, new set of problems to come in. That's kind of what you want in life, right? You don't want the same problems you had as a third grader as an adult. You want new problems, better problems that reflect the progress and growth that you've made. So this is why I actually construct my coaching the way that I do. Like I take care of the environment by having all the land investors talking together. We don't keep each other separate. Highly encouraged to share our good things and our bad, our sales, our disappointments, our pitfalls, and our triumphs. I often add in a lot of accountability in my coaching because we all need it. We all mean well when we first get started, but what happens after 2 months and things didn't work as you expected? It's going to slow down, you're going to disappear, or you're going to stick with it. Now, what if you have somebody helping you stick with it? So now even if you want to fall back into old habits, people who actually want to see you do well and succeed in this don't allow you to do that and force you to grow and upgrade, right? What if those people help you build new habits that is going to actually sustain the type of life that you're looking for? Doesn't necessarily got to be money. It can just be the more time freedom, the better fitness, happier overall, all these things. Now, if something like that sounds interesting to you, you definitely need to hit me up because maybe you would be a good fit for what I have to offer. If something like that's not good, you just want a course, there's plenty of people who have courses and they'll be much cheaper than what I have to offer anyways. But the point is this, you cannot do this alone. You will need help at some point. Maybe his help is not the land investing part. Maybe it's just staying accountable, keeping you focused on what's important, the daily actions that will get you to what you want, and not being easily discouraged when things don't go your way. We all fall victim to that. It's no judgment. I'm talking about how I fell victim to it over the weekend. So with that said, I know it's a little bit different than what I'm talking about. I didn't give you guys a concrete strategy like I normally do, but as I said before, this stuff is more exciting to me than telling you like, oh, just use these words on your mailer. Say this in your text, because that shit changes all the time, right? What worked last year may not work this year, what probably won't work next year. But these core fundamental things, this is going to work not just today and tomorrow and for, for the rest of your life, but it's not going to just work in land. It's going to work in all aspects of your life. This is why I get the most excited about these things. So appreciate you guys sticking around. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm always glad to answer, not just about this, but just regular land stuff. But until next time I see you, peace out.